Hello and welcome to My Career in Data, a podcast where we discuss with industry leaders and experts how they have built their careers. I'm your host, Shannon Kemp, and today we're talking to Kristin Foster, the Senior Vice President of Data Science at 8451.
More and more companies are considering investing in data literacy education, but still have questions about its value, purpose, and how to get the ball rolling. Introducing the newest monthly webinar series from Dataversity, Elevating Enterprise Data Literacy, where we discuss the landscape of data literacy and answer your burning questions. Learn more about this new series and register for free at dataversity.net.
Hello and welcome. My name is Shannon Kemp, and I'm the Chief Digital Officer at Dataversity, and this is My Career in Data, a Dataversity Talks podcast dedicated to learning from those who have careers in data management, to understand how they got there, and to be talking with people who help make those careers a little bit easier. To keep up to date in the latest in data management education, go to dataversity.net/subscribe. Today, we're talking to Kristin Foster, the Senior Vice President of Data Science at 8451. And normally, this is where a podcast host would read a short bio of the guest. But in this podcast, your bio is what we're here to talk about. Kristin, hello and welcome.
Hello, Shannon. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for being here. And so tell me, you're the Senior Vice President of Data Science at 8451. So tell me about 8451.
Absolutely. So 8451, we are a retail data science, insights, loyalty, and media company. And we work with the Kroger Company, CPGs, agencies, publishers, and some of our other partners to create personalized and valuable experiences for our shoppers across the entire path to purchase. We are a wholly owned subsidiary of the Kroger Company, which is a grocery retailer, currently operating in about 28 banners, 35 states. And at 8451, especially my team, we're really focused on building those cutting edge data science solutions and really focused on fueling that customer-centric journey across all those things, across loyalty, insights, retail, media, healthcare, all of those different components. And I think, 8451, it's a unique name too. So I can quickly explain what that is. So 8451 is actually the longitude of our headquarters in the Cincinnati office. We do have other locations as well. I actually work out of our Chicago office, but it is our longitude coordinates in Cincinnati. And that is because we are really anchored to Kroger. We are a part of the Kroger ecosystem, and we really like to look at data longitudinally and really understand the connections that it can make to create those, relevant, valuable experiences for our customers.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that. I love that background of that name. That's very
unique.
interesting. It is. But tell me, so what do you do for 8451? What does your typical work week look like as the Senior VP of Data Science?
Yeah, so we are, I would say there's so much to think about I don't even think I could talk about a typical work week, but let me kind of quickly first talk about a little bit around, again, what we're doing and then the role I play with that. So, we have data science teams currently at 8451. We have about 300 data science researchers that fall under the function that I lead and support. And like I said before, we have data scientists and researchers and ML engineers and analysts and data analysts working with our data asset across many different pillars to develop those capabilities and develop those solutions. So not only are we doing things in retail media and CPG insights in some of those areas, we're also really working to build and deploy analytical solutions across the entire Kroger ecosystem. So that'll range from forecasting to influence retail operations, for an example, or store ordering, assortment optimization to make sure we have the right products in the right store based on who's shopping those stores, all the way to helping our kind of category managers or our merchants make more data-driven decision making. A big thing that our teams do, our data science teams do, that Kroger is often known for, is really focused on sending really relevant coupons to our loyal customer base. So taking the data that we have and really making sure we're optimizing the offers to thank you and reward you for the loyalty that you provide Kroger by giving you the things that are going to matter most to you. So we do all of that across all of those data science teams, across all those different pillars. And we're really lucky to have a really rich data asset to do that with.
That's amazing. It's so funny when you're shopping, you don't think about those things, but it's so important. And I love that the Kroger has invested so heavily in data science to make
Absolutely.
those customer differences. So tell me, Kristin, so was this the dream when you were, so like, say you were 6 years old,
Yeah.
what was the dream when what do you wanted to be when you grew up?
Definitely not when I was 6 years old. I think when I was 6 years old, I made a whole like school in my basement back in Iowa where I grew up because I really wanted to be a teacher, and I still love teaching and developing people.
Nice.
So that part has never gone away, but I
Yeah.
always wanted to go the teacher route back in the day. But I would say, even when I was in college, this absolutely wasn't on my kind of, even, I don't think any sort of place I thought I would end up is where I am today. Definitely not data science or technology at that point earlier in my college career, not grocery retail, not on my bingo card. But, now I've been in technology and in a technology role for nearly 20 years, and I really can't imagine doing anything else. And I think where it like kind of all started to click for me was back in college. And I went to the University of Iowa, and I was in business school. And at that point, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was thinking advertising, I was thinking finance. I didn't know. So I was doing a lot of different things, but I happened to take one course. It was actually one of a summer session that I ended up staying in Iowa City. And I took one course where I really saw like the power of data in business and the power of data and applying data in the right way and how that can impact your business and impact decision making. And we had the opportunity in that course to work with like a local business where we took some of their data and helped create a loyalty program to help them understand how to work differently or engage differently with their customer base to again, going back all the way to almost 20 years later to what I do today to make it a relevant and valuable experience for them. And that's where I was like, you know what? This is pretty fun. I really like this. I like the analytical aspect. I like the data, but I like the application of it. I really, could never be in a role that was too theoretical because I think being able to see it come to life is where I really enjoy it. So I went back and was like, are there careers in this? And that's where I started to get into my first job, which was actually at an insurance company where I learned stats, I learned modeling, I learned a lot of the kind of foundational components that are critical to kind of a foundational data science background in that role. And that's how I got to start the start of my career, at least.
Oh, that's amazing. And kudos to Iowa for having that class because so many, especially in business, they leave the data part out, and it is so critical to making good business decisions. So that's very cool. So, okay, so tell me, so you get your first job in insurance.
Yes.
So, and you said you started modeling so how did your passion develop from there? And then where did you go?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And I have, like I said, I've been in roles in technology that have been on data for my whole career, but I have done a few different things across that. Like I said, it's probably been across three main companies that I've worked at. The one I'm at today, 8451, I've actually been here a little over 12 years. So this is where I've spent most of my career to date. But before, like I said, I started in that insurance industry, and that is where I learned statistical coding and data analytics. And it was in a marketing department. We actually were taking kind of at that point direct mail and really helping to optimize those campaigns, optimize the targeting and response modeling that we did, as well as then measure the impact of them. And like again, that's where it almost reinforced how much I enjoyed data analytics and technology and wanted to continue down that path. That was in Des Moines, and I actually just wanted to move to a bigger city. So that's where I kind of took my next step, was, wanting to get to somewhere a little bit different than Des Moines, and found myself in Chicago, which I've now been ever since. And the next company I worked at was a market research firm in downtown Chicago. And there I also loved it. It was a, real fun, laid back culture, learned so much, a culture focused on development and learning. And there I had the opportunity, which was really good for me, to try a lot of different types of discipline in this space. So, my first one was really around, marketing analytics and some of those components. And at my next company, where I was for a little over 6 years, I was in one role that was really heavy programming and automation, really skewed more almost. It was still, I think, technically in the like data science analytics function or discipline, but really skewed almost towards the engineering front and programming. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about kind of how all the data fits together, how to optimize code, but it was not my passion, but it was really good for me to do. So I did that for a while. I actually was in a product owner role there for a while, where I learned a lot more about the importance of the user experience, how to ensure we're iterating and developing over time and continuing to improve our products, and what that kind of roadmap and cycle looked like, which again, I found makes me so much better at my job today that I was able to do that. But again, not necessarily where I found my passion. And I went back to another role at that company, where it was more on taking the data and doing the analysis, telling the story, helping our clients understand the impact and how they could use that data differently. And that's, again, almost reinforced, similar to my first company, how much I loved that aspect. So it was a lot of different paths that helped me kind of reinforce then, okay, now when I'm going to my next spot, what do I really want to focus on? And that's where I then decided to come to, at that time, it was called dunnhumby, but now 8451, where I've been ever since. And actually, I was introduced to the company through an old manager of mine, who's now one of my very, very closest mentors and allies and friends, who was like, you've been working in insurance and financial services so far. Like, let me tell you about this data asset I have within grocery, what he was doing. And he was talking about it, because you think about the grocery data, how much it is, how massive it is. And you think about the regularity of grocery shopping, the frequency, the power of what you can do with that data was so exciting to me. So I ended up coming and have, like I said, been here ever since, and despite being here 12 years, still been across many parts of our business. So I've been on media, I've been on our insights, I've been in our merchandising before I got into my role now, leading the function.
Oh, that's so exciting. I love that you have explored so many of the disciplines within data management, because there are so many, right? So many different aspects and so many different ways to play with data. So you mentioned data storytelling, and that's kind of been your passion. Tell me a little bit about that. We haven't touched on that a lot in this podcast, so tell me a little about data storytelling.
So some of the components of, especially in some of my roles around, I think, a lot of times you think about data, or you think about the models or the science that you're building, they don't have the value and the power without having the acceptance and adoption of the business on what it's doing. So even if it's like a model or data that's integrated into a system, being able to make sure people are understanding what that data is doing, what that science is doing, and how it can be applied is so valuable to get that adoption. Again, whether it's fully automated or whether it's something that then they're using the output to make a decision on. So I found that, like, being able to take all those components and actually be able to work back and translate what it means and what it matters, being one of the most critical skills I've been able to develop, because that's when the power comes. That's when the value comes with the data, is when people understand how to use it and what it can do and how they can make decisions with it. So, whether it's through kind of some of the visualization that we were able to do, or even some of the articulation of what it is and why it matters, I found a lot of interest in my current role, which is a little bit different because I'm not doing as much of the day-to-day. I found, like, one thing I love doing is continuing to help people improve, like, data literacy and understanding the impact. And so much of that has to come through that storytelling aspect of taking really technical things and making it consumable for everyone that needs to be using the data and insights to make their decisions.
And your initial passion of wanting to be a teacher certainly comes out in that,
right?
Very much so.
With a robust catalog of courses offered on demand and industry-leading live online sessions throughout the year, the Dataversity Training Center is your launchpad for career success. Browse the complete catalog at training.dataversity.net and use code DVTalks for 20% off your purchase.
I love that throughout your career, you have been very curious. You've explored different options. You've followed your passion. You have a mentor. And so you're learning and getting advice and getting help. And I think all very important things. So tell me, what was your biggest lesson so far in your career?
That's a great question. I think it's probably a few things. I don't know if I have a biggest one, or a few things I've almost already touched on that I can reinforce. The first one, there might be a few, so you can tell me if I'm doing too many. The first one is like, there is no one path. And I think that's what's really exciting, especially as you start a career in technology. There's just so many different directions you can take it. So don't be for me, at first I was like, oh, can I actually try this? But it was so good for me to explore and try different things, because one, it helped me determine my passion. It also helped me determine like what I was good at and confident at, and maybe what I wasn't as strong in. But all of those things really helped me kind of round me out to be where I am today. So, everything I've tried, I think it's just really made me kind of better at what I'm able to do today. So the fact that there's not one path to follow. And then the second one that I think is really, at least been really, really important to me personally, is around that network of people surrounding you. So I think I have really strong mentors, but not just one. It's almost like, and I've heard this term used many times, and I like to use it, and I've adopted it myself, like your own personal board of directors, and really making sure that group of individuals is, gonna challenge. They're one, they can help lift me up when I need to be lifted up, because I do, there's always that confidence, like, do I have a right to be here, that creeps up with me, that it's good to have those people like being like, hey, remember you did all these things, yeah, you have a right to be here, you've proven your kind of ability to do this. But also not be afraid to challenge and help identify the areas where, I might have gaps, or I might need to improve, or call me out when they're seeing things that maybe go against either, my personal values, or where I need to continue to grow. So that's been another thing that's been really valuable, and a lesson that's taken me. I've always really valued relationships, but the importance of having the diversity of different backgrounds, different industries, different tenures of people has been something that's been really valuable to me. And I'm going to say one other thing, which is like advocating for myself. I did not do that early in my career. I just kind of went with the like, okay, I'm not going to, now I advocate for myself. I'm not afraid to highlight what I've done well. I'm not afraid to speak up about what I want to do and why I believe I have a right to do it. So that's probably the third lesson that I've gotten much better at in recent years than I was when I started my career.
Oh, all great lessons. I love that you have a board supporting you. That's actually the first time I've heard that. And that is, oh my gosh, that's so fantastic. That is amazing.
Yeah.
And I love that you are, we always, so many, I talk about this on the podcast all the time, that, I had this perception that, you have to be perfect. Like I had to go into my job and it had to be perfect, and I had to know everything, and had to know, but letting go of that and learning, and, and going, hey, where do I need to learn? It's just so important, and so nice to learn early.
Yeah. And I found that like when you are willing, like no one knows everything and no one's perfect. So being able to like be humble enough to recognize where this isn't I don't know, or I need some support, or, I'm not the right person to do this, actually, I think really helps build trust with your teams and your peers, and that way too, because I think it is so true.
Yeah. So tell me, Kristin, so having worked with data since college, then, what is your definition of data?
Oh my goodness. So there's so much, like, now, right? The world is so digitized. Like, it's just everything feels to be data right now. I will say here at 8451, since we're a data science company, that is our bread and butter, that's the heart of what we do. And we like to call data the lifeblood. Like, this is the lifeblood of our organization, because everything that we're doing is leveraging data to be able to solve these business problems. We want to use that to make sure we have the right products at the right store at the right price, to make it as easy as possible to shop, and both in store and online, to be able to, really reward our customers with the things that matter most to them, and making sure that they're able to get that experience that they expect of us with the loyalty and trust they provide. So it's really all fueled by data. And then when you think about it, and it's like data, and it's like rawest form, right? There's facts, statistics, information. And being able to cobble it all together into the right thing is where I think there's so much that you can do with it. With grocery in particular, we all grocery shop, and we all eat, so everyone pretty much can relate. But when you even think about the grocery receipt that you get when you leave the store, think about just that one piece of paper, how much information is on that's so powerful. Like the time of day, the store location, if they have like a loyalty card, kind of that's tied to it. And then you can look at each individual, each raw like metric that exists, and learn so much about the price that was paid and everything. Then you can start to create derived metrics and derived data from that to say, oh, this person bought 10 things, but 6 of them were vegetables and fruit. There's a heavy produce trip. And then start to make, so that's another kind of form of data. And then go to the inferred data almost to say, all right, they bought, I don't know, tortillas and avocados and peppers and chicken and beans and rice. They're having a taco night. So you can start to think about all that you're able to do. And that's just one tiny piece of paper. When you think about how often people grocery shop and how everyone grocery shops, it really kind of lends itself to think about how many different ways you can develop, derive, and create data from those experiences to really then create the things that matter most.
So true. So do you see then the importance of data management and the number of jobs working with data increasing or decreasing over the next 10 years, and why?
It's really like interesting. I definitely see it increasing. And I think I mentioned it before, right? The amount of data we have today versus 10 years ago versus 10 years prior, it's just like drastically higher. So I think it only continues to like increase or highlight the importance of managing data effectively, efficiently, is going to be. And the other thing I think is really important because of the increased data, whether it's a role in data management or any other role that someone takes, is the importance for everyone, regardless of if they're in a data specific role or not, to continue to increase like that data literacy, because it can't be limited to technologists anymore. So that's another interesting kind of lens that I always consider as we think about how much data is increased in addition to data management. But I do think, the number of roles in that data quality, data management is going to only continue to increase. My role is data science. So I know that what we're able to build and create is only as good as the data that's being captured, and the feedback loops on that data, and the ability to access that data. That is what matters most for us to do the things that we need to with so much more data at our fingertips across no matter what industry you're in. I only see that becoming increasingly important. Now, I do think most likely that there's going to always be, which there always is, shifts in the types of data jobs that exist, especially as you think through technology and how much has shifted with, different AI technologies and how that might change, data cleansing and other components of the data management lifecycle. But I don't see that changing the importance of the number of roles and the types of roles that will exist.
Indeed. Yeah. There's so many questions, with generative AI out there, and, how is the landscape going to change? But I think you're right. I mean, we have seen, and maybe you have some advice for, even we've seen so many companies try to stand up machine learning and try to stand up AI, and then fall flat because they forgot to do the data prep. They forgot to do the cleansing. There was no data governance or quality built in. And it's like, oh, we need a data modeler. We're seeing so many data modeling jobs be available. So many brand new data modelers because suddenly they're like, oh, we need a data model in order to stand this up.
Mm-hmm.
How have you been able to stand up that new tech and keep up with the new tech?
Yeah, it is, the tech's moving so fast. It's like
Yeah.
every day we're learning something new, and there's something
Right.
continuing to come forth. But I think kind of what you're highlighting is exactly where we're at, in the sense of, especially as more and more of our business counterparts are hearing about this technology and the impact it can have. Like, so much of our time right now is like, absolutely, like, yeah, Gen AI can do so much, even when you think about access to insights and ability to derive from data, but it's still based on that foundation. So we're doing a lot right now with like roles like the data modelers or some of our data analytics teams to focus on how can we use some of that technology, especially some of the advances in Gen AI as an example, to help with our like back-end data components. So then we can start to show the value that can have to then get to a different user experience or kind of front end changes that we're making as well. But there is so much changing on a daily basis, and so much kind of foundational things that need to be true in order to get value out of that technology. And again, you highlight data governance, and we have science governance, which are just such critical components of that foundation to have really established before trying to kind of deploy anything with those new technologies.
Yeah. Very nice. Well, Kristin, this has been fantastic. This is just amazing. Thank you so much. So I'd be remiss. How would people find out more about 8451 and what y'all do?
Yeah, so feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'd love to chat and connect with anyone that's interested. And then I'd encourage people to go to our website, which is 8451.com. You can see a lot more about us. You can see roles that we have across, data science and engineering and other technology roles that exist, and find out a lot more about us.
Oh, amazing. Oh, well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. Really have enjoyed this. This is some great advice for everybody out there.
Yeah, thank you, Shannon. It's been fantastic.
And to all of our listeners out there, if you'd like to keep up to date in the latest in podcasts and the latest in data management education, you may go to dataversity.net/subscribe. Until next time, and stay curious, everyone. Thank you for listening to Dataversity Talks, a podcast brought to you by Dataversity. Subscribe to our newsletter for podcast updates and information about our free educational webinars at dataversity.net/subscribe.